Hello everybody and welcome to this Awesomenauts Replaycast with yours truly, SlowWolf. Today we're going to be taking a look at Colossal Donuts replay. And this time, there's no bots on the main screen, so we can go ahead and introduce everybody here right at the front. We're going to be playing on Awesomenauts. It's going to be a 28-minute long match. On the red team, we have Sneakman playing your Ksenia, Squash playing your Scree, and Minnie playing an Admiral Swiggins. On the blue team, we have Unlucky Charms playing your Yuri, Zip playing Ksenia, and Chicken Llama playing your Coco. Let's go ahead and just hop right into the game, shall we? And we are off here at the 15-second mark. Everybody's down on the ground. Let's see what everyone's items are to start things off. Scree going to piggy bank basic items and slow on the left click. Swiggins still landing down, picking up basic items. Sneakman picked up basic items. Coco, Ksenia, and Yuri all picked up their basic stuff as well. So everybody's just kind of going for your general overall beginning stuff, which is totally fine. It's exactly what you'd expect. Out comes the totem at what cost. Some damage coming out. He's going to go ahead and continue left clicking, but he's quite low now. He needs to be careful, as Zip could easily kill him if he's not careful. He will survive this for now, however. That is a good thing. Minnie taking a bit of damage. He needs to be a little careful here, but he should be fine. The entirety of the blue team down here gonna eat a mine, I think? No, never mind. No mines. Chicken Llama will get the kill onto Squash, who dropped down at exactly the wrong time to do anything helpful, unfortunately. That does happen on occasion. You just drop into a bad situation and you're dead. It's not something you like to have happen or like to have do, but them's the breaks. Now, this gives us some time to actually talk about lineups. The red team has a very, I would say it's got a pretty heavy push lineup. Wow, Zip's super low. He's just going to barely die. Sneakman landing a very good dagger onto an anchored enemy, which was very good, deciding to use the anchor to help with her sight issues, which were an actual thing there. The Ksenia was invisible. If it wasn't for the anchor, you would not be able to see it. So, very good dagger out of Sneakman, managing to equalize the table, now 1-1. But the red team does have a lot of good single target damage thanks to the Ksenia and the Swiggins, and a decent amount of push thanks to the Scree, who can also put out a lot of control using his totem, and a lot of AoE damage using his saw blade. So it's a really well-rounded kind of team, I would like to think. Out comes the totem. It's not going to do too much, to be honest with you, as everybody just kind of pokes their way back. The blue team taking the majority of the damage there, but, you know, we don't have to worry about that too much. They're just going to back off and go right back to, finding HP all over the place. If there's one thing the Awesomenauts has, it's a fairly plentiful supply of HP. You just need to go to your jungle to do it, which is slightly riskier than it is on other maps if you're up against the wrong kind of team makeup. Speaking of the wrong kind of team makeup, let's talk about the blue team. Not that they've got a wrong team makeup, but it's a little bit more confused. The Yuri and the Coco are very different than the Ksenia. The Ksenia is kind of the only one that's able to do a lot of burst. Pardon. And the Coco will help with that. Lightning Ball does do a lot of work. But an improperly played Yuri, or at least a Yuri that isn't played aggressively, isn't going to get a lot of work done in terms of that aggressive push. So I don't foresee that lineup doing quite as much as it should. Out comes some damage, an attempt at doing a face mine. Not going to work out there. Zip looking for a target, not going to find it quite yet. Oh, there's Minnie, though. Going to eat a lightning ball. And the body blocks out of Squash. Going to make sure that Zip does not find that Swiggins as a juicy target there. So that guarantees that the red team will continue to start getting more experience. Like, they have a slight edge in terms of experience, but it is only very slight. Maybe only a few creep kills at most. Some left click damage coming out. Scree in this matchup is actually really neat because as long as he's left clicking, he can find any invisible character, and since there's only one, the Ksenia, he can usually chase them down really easily. On top of that, he has the slow on his left click, which means that as long as he manages to land a hit, he can continue to see the invisible character for a little bit. Minnie gonna go down, wrong place, wrong time. Zip gonna pick up the kill there. Well-timed time bubble coming out of Unlucky Charms, able to guarantee some very simple body blocks. Now, it's time for the blue team to start split pushing a little bit. Yes, the red team has two members with which they can defend all these turrets, but they're sticking together, which is a fine thing to do. It means that they won't have as much of a chance of dying, and they'll be able to clear out these waves fairly quickly. So that was the right move to make, I think, here. Squash, you need to get down here. You need to start defending this area. He's going to eat a lightning ball, but he will clear out both the creeps. Now Zip, maybe looking to find something here, but not going to. Yuri's going to start mining up the pad, which is a very good way of limiting mobility. Zip taking a lot of damage thanks to the saw. The grapple is just a little short on the left side and is not going to hit So the blue team, although very close to death, does not end up dying, which is a huge upset for the red team. They could have really used the kill there. It could have been an easy double kill if they had played it properly, or if they had played it just a little bit better in terms of their accuracy, but no dice. Oh, that's unfortunate. So now the edge goes to the blue team. They are now 2-1. They are slightly ahead in experience, which is giving them 1 level advantage at the moment. So that will slip away over time as the amount of experience necessary does diminish. Zip taking a little bit of left click damage. Now Unlucky Charms may be in a bad spot, but he does have access to mines. That cooldown's done now for another 5 seconds. Nothing else going to happen out of that, though. Zip going to take an anchor drop at what cost? None whatsoever, really. But still, there's no downside to having tossed out an anchor in that case, honestly. He tossed it out, he maybe dealt a tiny bit of damage, and he moved on. Zip going to take a lot of Saw Blade damage trying to go in there. That might have been silly on Zip's part, but he'll pick up all that HP out of the creeps and be totally fine. Mini going to continue to walk around in Ink Squirt mode, just so that way he can move around a bit faster and stay at range, which is a safe way to go. Mini's grapple not going to hit. Squash going to go ahead and eat a mine from above. Maybe not his favorite thing to do here, but that's okay. It happens. Like sometimes you're around and there's no mines, and other times mines just kind of drop on top of you. You know, raindrops keep falling on your head. Why not gigantic titanium-plated explosives with a little bit of iridium and maybe some monkey poo on top of it? Who knows? It's Awesomenauts. Anyway, let's talk about items for a second. Scree hasn't bought anything yet in the last little while. He's got 400 solar. Like he could stand to spend some soon. You gotta spend money to make money. At this point, the red team needs to start spending money to make some money. And they're going to manage to pick up Unlucky Charms here, so that's a 1-for-1 exchange. That's kind of the 2 big pushers for each team gone. If there's one thing that Yuri's quite good for, it's keeping lanes clear, so long as he's given that room to do so with. And with him and Scree done, it means that there's no one who's really going to be able to push effectively for the next couple of seconds. Yes, both teams have a Ksenia, and they can kind of cleave around. And yes, the Swiggins and the Coco can kind of clear some waves as well, given enough time. But yeah, honestly, there are 2 pushers in this game. They are Yuri and they are Scree. Mini trying to do the vertical jukes here on Aiguillon. Not difficult to do that if you got the jump. Squash in a bad spot. He is likely to die here. He does not yet. He's going to go ahead and juke off to the right. He's going to pick up these creeps. He's going to succeed in picking up one of them. That will be enough to cement his survival if he can get out of here, and he does. So that was very well played out of him. He managed to get it out of a situation that looked like he was as good as dead. Out comes the grapple anchor drop, but where to go? The anchor's gone, so nothing ends up happening. Now there's a lot of left click happening. Unlucky Charms needs to be a little careful here. If there's a counter initiate out of the red team, that could be very bad, particularly because Sneakman does have daggers. It's not like there's a lot of dagger damage quite yet, but it is a potentiality. Out comes the totem. Zip's gonna just walk into that and go, oh look, there's a totem, and then drop right back down. Out come a couple of daggers, nothing really too scary. Unlucky Charm's trying to come in there with a bubble and a time warp, but it's not going to land a face mine, and so nothing happens. Monkey just kind of comes up and gives a little love tap. It goes, hey, how's it going? I like you guys. I'm going to cuddle up next to you, and then I'm going to just drop a mine. I hope you don't mind. But we do mind, says the red team, and they just back off. They're not a big fan of having mines dropped all over their stuff, so not super happy about it. Regen coming out as a really common upgrade in these games that we've been casting lately. Oh, Squash taking some damage. Out comes the lightning ball. It's going to hit Squash right in the butt. Squash is going to need to be a bit careful. He's about 1/3 HP. Doesn't want to go much lower than that. He's going to take some damage out of the Zip. Zip's not really going to care. Unlucky Charm's taking a little bit more damage out of the red Ksenia. He'll be totally fine, though, as he picks up another 2 creeps and goes right back up to pretty much full. And yeah, that's about it for that. The Ksenias are having a bit of a duel up top, but obviously the game doesn't think it's too important, because otherwise somebody would have showed me by now. Yuri taking some turret damage. Out comes the lightning ball. Squash just going to go ahead and eat that for breakfast. He loves eating those things. They're high in energy and all kinds of other sugary delectables. So, you know, I'm sure that that's totally something you want to be doing, is eating, you know, lightning balls all the time. It's your favorite. Oh, he decides not to eat that time, which is probably a fine thing to do. Zip gonna put out a decent amount of damage onto Squash. He needs to be careful. He could probably stand to go back home pretty soon, but he's gonna pick up the HP creep on the backside there and put himself back in a situation where he's okay. Zip's gonna try to do some damage. Most of the knives miss. Lightning ball gonna come out onto Sneakman, and Chicken Llama just gonna bounce upstairs and not do very much. Right now, the turrets are in favor of the blue team, it seems. The blue team turrets are relatively unscathed, and the red team turrets are about 1/3. Ow! That hurt. Sneakman needs a mine for no good reason at all. But that's going to happen when you're playing against the Yuri. Sometimes there's mines and you don't expect them, so you're going to eat them. Or, you know, just take them to the face. One of the two. It's not exactly an eating thing. Squash is going to kill off Zip with a well-placed Saw Blade. It has a lot to do with the anchor drop and the grapple combo coming out of Mini, though. Managing to make some good plays for his team. He is sort of body blocked, but he will manage to jump through and hit that bounce pad with no ill effect. Now Squash is putting out some damage on the upside. Chicken Llama managing to catch Sneak E in a bit of a bad spot there, despite all the damage that she took. Oh, out comes the Saw Blade, and the double Saw Blade gonna pick up a kill there for the red team. Squash going in at a good time to pick up that kind of kill. So Sneak Man, I'm surprised, is very much alive. Out comes the grapple, the drop. Unlucky Charms and his livelihood are all gonna go down the drain as he ends up dying. But on the flip side, Zip picks up a kill onto Mini. Now Zip needs to be careful of Sneak Man and his damage, and the teams will kind of go back. So now it's 5-4 in favor of the red team. Well played by Mini, managing to pick up 2 kills with his grapple drop combos and doing a good job of it. On the flip side, however, oh wow, Zip managing to do some serious prediction, catching Squash out of place, and Squash is going to have to teleport home. Now, what's happening to Zip is a very good question here. Very low on HP, but not going to take any more residual damage, it seems, as Sneak Man can't quite find him. Out come a couple of daggers, Sneak Man going to take some of that damage, and then just back right off. Bounces back upstairs, eats a mine, back down to a third, needs to dodge this lightning ball, and will consider doing that. Succeeds in doing so, even. Squash is doing a lot of work for his team. He's currently in 91 day. Oh, grapple drop coming out to Zip. He's gonna have to wait for a second. Sneak Man trying to do some killing here, but he's going to catch the wrong side of a Coco's left click. Oh, Zip. Very low. Squash is going to be able to jump out using his totem as a platform in the middle. That's something that not a lot of players would know to do in a situation like where you're stuck where you're stuck behind enemy lines and you really don't have a way out. That's a well-placed totem for exactly that reason, so well done. Sneak Man going in, managing to clean up some more of those droid waves, getting some farm done. Mini going for the double pneumatic spoon here. That's a reasonable amount of damage now on that anchor drop when it breaks. On top of that is now starting to go for the blue heart metal. So the grapple itself is starting to get increased damage, and Mini is just going for full burst, which is kind of what you want as a Swiggins. Your goal isn't to necessarily kill people, it's to get people low enough that everyone else, that they do die. Sneak Man in that light is going to pick up the kill onto the Coco, onto Chicken Llama. That'll be an excellent kill for the red team. They are now 6-4. They are about a level ahead. And things are looking pretty good. Sneak Man needs to be careful. Ate a mine for no good reason. Tosses out a dagger, which will cause Yuri to back off, as he cannot seem to fly after being hit by those knives. It's a little bit frustrating for Yuri players, having to deal with that flightlessness whenever that happens, particularly because that's their only way to jump. So, yeah, that's always harsh. Squash comes in with the Saw Blade. It'll help dissuade the blue team from doing any more damage, but Zip putting out some serious numbers. Squash just needs to be a little bit safe, and he'll be totally fine. Unlucky Charms clearing out this bottom wave, and yeah, if you look at the DPS, you can see who the pushers are for the team. Screed putting out a 97 damage per second, almost 98. Yuri putting out 117 damage per second. So those two are the ones that you're looking at that are going to be taking down the creep waves. They're going to be doing a lot of the AoE damage in these fights. They're doing a lot of work for their team, and it's always good to see. But you need to be careful, especially when you're up against the Swiggins. The grapple drop comes out onto the Yuri. Not much else will happen, though, as Mini backs off. Now Squash here in the top area is just going around, left-clicking, kiting, harassing a little bit with that left click, puts out the Saw Blade to dissuade anyone from coming too close, and eats a lightning ball. Yuri coming in at a weird time, no lie. Mini seeing blood, not going to find it. Now Mini needs to be careful. Out comes the grapple drop. Mini will die to the blaze damage off of Chicken Llama, which is a very good kill. Mini went going in way too hard, and that will help to close the gap between the two teams. Some important item upgrades that have been picked up. We have Bobcat coming out here onto Sneak Man, whereas the blue Ksenia is going more for the Invis and Out build. So two very different builds coming out of these Ksenias with much the same goal. Use your knives to do the majority of your damage, whereas the blue one's going for more of a reusable kind of build where you go in and out and just constantly poke a lot. The red Ksenia is going in for, I'm going to kill you in one shot, and I'm not going to miss. Definitely the one that you see more often in the pro builds, to be perfectly honest with you, but I'm more of a fan of Zip's build just because it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to zip in and out of Invis and to do a lot of work that way. But not the case. Mini taking a little bit of damage. He might have pushed for a little bit too long, but he will get out without too much reciprocation. Now Squash coming in with some left clicks. It's not going to matter. Zip will just get right back to invisibility as he has a lowered cooldown on that. If for every dagger that he lands, Mini now in a bad spot. He took a lot of blaze damage. He does not want to go up there. Oh, Zip is going to find him. A very good prediction by Zip to pick him up there instead of thinking that he went up to the bounce pad. So, good job. It might have something to do with the fact that the mine hadn't died, however, and that there was no way out that way. Also didn't see him running off to the left, so lots of options. Lots of reasons why you probably wouldn't see it that way. Unlucky Charm's going to get picked off by Sneak Man, who was able to get the kill that he wanted. Very low, needs to keep jumping, will not be able to avoid the lightning ball. Well-placed lightning ball by Chicken Llama there. Squash putting out those left clicks, making sure that no one can really chase him past in this area. Small corridors and a scree are very, very annoying together, as a scree, or at least a well-played one, can make very good use of that time. Out comes a Saw Blade. It's going to go ahead and push down this bottom lane relatively easily. Or at least do a lot of damage to it and clear out the droids, which is the important thing. Chicken Llama going to teleport away. Now, I'm looking at the screen and I'm thinking he's got 500 and something solar. He could stand to spend it on something else. He's got Saw Blade damage and lifesteal and size, but that's it. Like, he doesn't have anything else. He needs to be a little bit more threatening, and Scree, being the character that he is actually a little bit weak in this patch. Sneak Man going to pick up a kill into Unlucky Charms. That's going to happen a lot. Ksenia versus Yuri, it's usually in the Ksenia's ball court in order to make that one work out. Whether or not the Ksenia is good will determine who wins that matchup, but the Yuri really has no input, which is what gives Yuri the distinct disadvantage here. Lots of damage. Grapple drop coming onto Zip. Zip's quite low and will go down. Managing to pick it up with the grapple anchor drop combo and finishing it off with the pneumatic spoon upgrade on the anchor drop. So now it's a 3v2 penalty, sorry, 3v2 advantage for the red team, and it has been for the last little while. Since Yuri's been dead, it's going to be another 15 seconds before Ksenia manages to make it to the fight in any useful capacity. They're making good use of this time by getting some experience. Sneak Man, very low. The blaze damage might end up killing him, but he does have double regen, so Sneak Man will survive, just barely by the skin of his teeth. And we go right back to farming the way that we know how to do. The DPS numbers, again, kind of indicative of who's doing the pushing and who's doing a lot of damage. The Swiggins is not having a hard time going in on these fights, largely because they have so much counter initiation between Zip and her daggers, Coco and her lightning ball. And let's not forget the fact that there are mines everywhere, so it's very difficult. Chicken Llama going to eat the anchor drop combo, but it's not going to end up doing very much. And on the bottom side, Unlucky Charms is going to help pick up a tower kill for the blue team. So things are looking really good for the blue team as they manage to get the first 2 objectives on the map. And that is kind of the point. You want the objectives. Unlucky Charms going to be able to time warp out of this fight really easily. Grapple drop going to hit 2 different people, so that damage is a little bit spread, which is not what you want as the Swiggins. Maybe picking up the AoE on his grapple would be a really good move here. Squash just barely going to survive and get the kill onto Zip with the Saw Blade. Zip obviously overextending just a little bit to try to get that kill and getting picked up by the Saw Blade. Really well done by Squash there. He's picked up a couple more upgrades. He now has boots, he has pills, he's got the height on the totem, and he now has a slowing aura on the totem, now making that totem a very dangerous ganking ability. If that totem's placed properly, you can bet that people will have a very hard time getting away, especially the Coco, who doesn't have as much vertical mobility as you'd like. And with the height on the totem, it means that she really can't jump over it. One well-placed totem means that she is stuck for good. Unlucky Charm's going to eat a Saw Blade. The mine not going to work. The grapple drop coming out, but it's not going to do enough. It's spread over 2 people. Now Zip putting out some damage. The daggers are real. Zip has access to Vanish, will use it again, and we'll have access to all of her daggers in a couple of seconds thanks to her upgrades. Out comes some damage. Squash going to go down. Mini going to kill off Unlucky Charms. It's 1-for-1 exchange right now, and that's all that's going to really happen there. Both of the other teammates for both teams are still quite healthy. Sneak Man going in for some left-click damage. Mini trying not to die, will end up dying to Zip, and Chicken Llama comboing together to do a lot of damage. Sneak Man, unfortunately, unable to land all the daggers that he wants. Needs to be careful here, because if he goes in at the wrong time, he will instantly get destroyed between the Ksenia and the Coco. They can do a lot of burst damage together. We haven't actually talked a lot about this Coco. She's picked up Superconductor to help farm things. She has Silver Coating to help move around, and Voltage Amplifier now coming out at the 18-minute mark in the game. That's a good thing to do. The percentage increase of damage is very much worth it for the solar spent at this stage of the game, so that's a totally fine upgrade to be picking up. And on top of that, it gives them the burst to be able to deal with these squishier characters on the red team, specifically Squash and Sneak Man. Unlucky Charms coming in with the mine with a face bomb. It is going to actually end up hitting at least one person, so that's one thing. And the bottom lane is pushing it for the blue team as well, as they are numerically pushing that lane forward with the one mine that they've got going. Unlucky Charms maybe in a bad spot, probably not. Ends up taking a couple of shots out of Sneakman. Sneakman will then back off. Unlucky Charms very low, so is Squash, however. Mini just barely gonna miss the grapple. That could have been an easy grapple drop anchor kill combo. Out comes the anchor, and that's gonna kill Lucky Charms. Unlucky Charms, I might say, actually. Two negatives do not cancel each other out and make a positive here. He will end up dying. Mini will just barely survive, thanks to what seems to be absolutely no regen and a little bit of luck picking up that kill onto the creep. So, well played there by Mini, just barely managing to survive and not give the other team another kill. Currently 13-9 in this game. Chicken Llama barely alive. Sneakman looking for this kill is going to land the daggers and will kill Chicken Llama. I mentioned before that the vertical mobility is going to be an issue onto this Coco. It's going to be very difficult to deal with the screen, but I forgot to mention that on Aiguillon, having any sort of vertical mobility issues is going to hamper your ability to just move around and juke. The anchor drop not going to be able to do very much there, as it just kind of dies when it's in front of a turret. Out comes a Saw Blade, and wow, Zip goes down. The two Saw Blade charges going in, going out, and going to be doing way too much damage for one little Ksenia to handle. They're going to use these totems now to help tank the turret while they pick up some easy damage on this top turret. It will likely go down in the time that Ksenia is coming back. It'll be another 15 seconds before she's back in the fight in any meaningful way, really. And that top turret does, in fact, go down the first for the red team as they start to make their way over to the right side of the map for the first time all game. And this is despite the fact that they've had an experience in solar advantage pretty much the entire time. Now, I'd like to take another look at the DPS. Things are picking up pretty fast now for both teams. Mini actually going to end up dying there. Chicken Llama very low, just barely going to survive and get out of there. But there wasn't really much follow-up, so I suppose he was pretty safe once he managed to jump upstairs. Zip needs to be careful here. He's going to put out a couple of daggers, but some of them are missing, so not everything's going to end up working out. Zip commits too hard and needs another dagger from Sneakman, getting another death, which means that things turned out being 1-for-1. Mini for the Mini for Zip, and that's totally fine as far as the red team is concerned, because now they're gonna have Swiggins before Zip comes back, and in that short time where they have Swiggins and the other team, oh, never mind. Chicken Llama picking up another kill. Now it's currently 2v2. Zip will be back before Squash comes back, and that will be a really easy way for them to be able to move the momentum back to the left side of the map. It looks like Mini's maybe in a rough spot. Unlucky Charm's going to come up from below, ahead, behind. I don't know. Yuri's a very strange character to commentate on sometimes. He'll just drop a mine and Mini will, eat it for breakfast. Now, Swiggins needs to be careful. He's taking a lot of damage. Out comes the grapple. Out comes the drop. The anchor's still not down. Sneakman doing a reasonable amount of damage now to this Yuri, but the blue team will get away. So will the red team. And everybody should be relatively happy. Sneakman's sitting here with actually 6-1 as far as kills and deaths are concerned. Let's actually take a look at that for a second. Squash sitting at 7-4, Sneakman sitting at 6-1, and Swiggins sitting at 3-6. But with the XP system in place, it's not so bad because you're still able to do damage thanks to that XP advantage that he's got going on there. It's one level's worth. It's not a lot, but it's enough. The Coco sitting at 6-3. And we've got Zip sitting at 5-6, obviously committing really hard for a lot of these kills, and then 0-7 for this Yuri. You can definitely tell where the solar is coming from for this red team. They've got quite a lot of solar going for them, and it's paying out. Sneakman managed to pick up another kill there. Unlucky Charms needs to be careful. So does Chicken Llama, maybe? I mean, it's a little difficult to call. The entirety of the red team is quite low. They're going to need to back off and heal a little bit. But Unlucky Charms maybe now in a bad spot. Sneakman maybe looking to do some knife damage. Mini maybe coming in to do something, but will back off. Oh, the damage was real. Unlucky Charms taking quite a lot of it to the face. Squash is not going to let him get away. Not free of charge anyway. Unlucky Charms just barely managing to dodge the huge amount of damage coming out of the Saw Blade, but will not be able to dodge the daggers coming out of Sneakman. And that'll be another kill for the red team. 18-11. 23 minutes into this game. Things are looking very good for the red team. The blue team need to start taking a more defensive posture, not overcommitting to so many of these kills. Sneakman is going to take a lot of damage off of Zip. Zip is able to vanish again, and things are going to look very good as they manage to pick up a kill onto Sneakman and a killing spree at that. So that's going to be a bit of extra solar there for Zip, which will be very helpful in continuing to improve his build and the damage coming out of it. Squash managing to just barely pick up some extra HP, but it won't be enough as Zip manages to pick him off with the daggers. Grapple drop going to do absolutely nothing, and now it's 3v1. The blue team is going to easily be able to start putting out some damage onto these red turrets, and they will back off. Oh my, this blue team is coming in. They do have a disadvantage as far as experience is concerned and as far as solar is concerned, but they are still putting up a massive fight. In fact, as far as objectives are concerned, and that's the important thing in this game, they are winning this at the moment, so do keep that in mind. Sneak Man doing a lot of damage to Mini, but to Unlucky Charms, but Unlucky Charms does not care. He's got access to heal on the bubble and time primer to increase the slow on the time warp, so it makes it very difficult for melee characters to be able to do very much. Unlucky Charms going to eat some left clicks out of Squash and the rest of the red team. The red team now looking to find something, anything to make this worth it. Squash very low, needs to be careful. Zip is invisible. Zip goes maybe on the wrong character there, just barely manages to vanish away. Now Squash overcommitting, gets killed off by Chicken Llama, and another well-placed lightning ball. Has had a hard time, Squash has, with dodging those lightning balls or just being in the wrong place at the wrong time and eating one of those in the face. Lightning ball coming out again. Not going to end up doing too much. And it looks like the blue team is going to start pushing in here for another tower kill. Out comes a lightning ball. Out comes a lot of more damage. Mini needs to be careful. Any lightning ball in the next couple seconds will get the kill. Sneak Man comes in from behind, but at what cost? Gets picked off entirely and does not have a chance of surviving here. Pardon me. The blue team definitely currently dominating the objectives on this match. But this is not over yet. The red team do have a lot of power. They do have the advantage in terms of solar, if not experience any longer. So hopefully that ends up helping out a little bit. Sorry about that. Anyway, Squash coming in with some left clicks is going to clear up this top lane. Now Mini going in, but with who behind him? The Swiggins can't do anything on his own. He's running away. He's gonna be able to teleport. Chicken Llama is not gonna be able to stop him in time. He will get out. Unlucky Charms just dropping mines all over the place. Squash gonna toss out a Saw Blade. It's gonna go out. It's gonna come back. It's not gonna hit the Chicken Llama more than once. And as a result, Chicken Llama will get away by the skin of his teeth. Unlucky Charms continues to push out this bottom lane as best as he can. And Mini needs to be careful. They know that there's an invisible zip. Puts out the grapple. It's not gonna hit. An unfortunate prediction. Unlucky Charms gonna end up picking off Squash there with a mine and a time warp slow. That bubble is terrifying right now, as it can do so much work with those upgrades. It's a useless upgrade. Well, not useless, but it's not very good at base. But once you put some upgrades into a time bubble, is easily the strongest ability, or one of the stronger abilities in this game. It is super frustrating to deal with. And the red team finds himself in a bad situation. Sneak Man getting caught in that ambush and killed with very little resistance. It's now 3v1, and a Swiggins can't defend, so definitely one of these turrets is going down. Down goes the top turret. This bottom turret taking a lot of damage between the Coco and the Ksenia. That's going to be another double kill there as far as turrets are concerned. Squash now very low, needs to be safe. Puts out a good turret totem thing, but what's it going to do? Not much. A Zip going to take a grapple drop, but there's too much backing him up. Committed really hard to a kill. Squash will pick it up, and he picks up both of the creeps behind it, so he is going to live for now. Picks up the invis as well, manages to juke to the left, and gets out of there relatively safely. But things are looking a little rough for the red team, to say the least. They do not have many objectives compared to the blue team. They only have the one. Squash is going to end up going down to the rocket droid and his 400 damage rockets. Very painful stuff. You do not want to be hit by that. And the rocket droid does go down, but not before effectively helping to clear the lane. It's looking really good. And there's the other rocket droid on the bottom. This would be the time for the blue team to push it. It's 3v2. They have a rocket droid to help kind of AoE the base. Sneak Man is very low. One bad lightning ball will be the end of her. Not going to be the case, though. Now Mini in a bad spot. Mini needs to be careful. Cannot really go in there at the moment. Sneak Man going to eat another 400 damage rocket. These rocket droids are very painful things. Out comes another rocket. Sneak Man very low. Any other lightning balls would be a lot of damage. The Saw Blade's going to come out, though, and kind of annihilate this push. But this isn't over yet. The red team going in, doing a lot of damage. They're able to pick a lot of HP off of Unlucky Charms, but at what cost? Sneak Man taking a ton of damage on his own as well. Tosses out a dagger. Chicken Llama is quite low. And out comes the totem. It's going to catch both of the blue team members in a bad spot, but it doesn't matter. They're so strong that they just managed to bust their way out of the ambush and take down the red core for the win. Oh, that was a good turnaround. Let's go ahead and check out the graphs here, as they can say a lot about who ended up being on top for most of the match. Again, total solar is probably the greatest indicator of determining whether or not people have the positioning and the skill available to make things work. Still, despite this total solar showing that it was a really even game, if not in Red's favor for most of the game up until the end, we saw that it was objectives that ended up being the deciding factor here. The blue team managed to pick up all the turrets, despite the fact that they were behind on experience and behind on solar for a little while. It was a little bit rough for them on those fronts, and yet they still managed to pull ahead just by working hard enough on pushing. And that was one thing that Ksenia and that Swiggins in particular could not handle on their own. If Scree was down, the red team could not stop a push. And I think that's what ended up being the deciding factor here. They got those pickoffs onto the Scree, and then they managed to push in. So nice and easy stuff, really, out of the blue team once they got going. As far as item builds go, Scree going for a very typical build, going for the slow on the left click out of the gate, and then going for size increased damage and lifesteal on the saw blade. The totem was used as a ganking tool, going for the slow, the height, and the base damage totem, actually. That's a very interesting one. So long as he was near his totem, he was doing more damage on every attack while he was near it, so that's always good. And he also had Ceremonial Mask. I'm not sure to what end, however, as it hitting multiple targets, or hitting, the same target multiple times, is a little bit pointless if you don't have exactly a lot of damage to go with it. Swiggins went for Pneumatic Spoon and then the Blue Heart medal, which is fine for burst damage. Eventually went for Kraken Statue, and then the range on the Mobile Periscope, which I'm not exactly sure about. I would have rather picked up the AoE. I really think that AoE is a fantastic upgrade on a character who doesn't do a lot of AoE damage. But did pick up Bovinian Skim Milk, which I think is an amazing upgrade, and some other things. A very simple kind of build. The only one that I'm looking at that's maybe a little bit strange is Krill Biscuits. It's not a bad upgrade by any stretch, but it doesn't help with the burst. It just helps with the mobility. So if mobility is your issue, that build might work out for you. The Ksenia going for more the pro build on... Sneakman going for the pro build, going for Bobcat first. It's very difficult to land Bobcat, to be honest with you. So if you are new to Ksenia, I would avoid going for Bobcat first, honestly, because it's difficult to land all three attacks and then continuously dagger accurately all the time. It's kind of like going for Penny Fox and the heart-shaped net upgrade build, where you just pulse attack the entire time. Aside from that, fairly standard build with a lot of just basic stuff where you can get increased range on the scissor throw, and eventually started going into the same sort of build that Zip was doing. Speaking of Zip, went for the Gorge and the Beautiful and the Steel Feathers kit, which is effectively in and out, go into stealth, dagger a bunch of people, and then go back into stealth, get all your daggers back, and continue to repeat until everybody's dead. This ended up being very helpful, despite the fact that he went in huge a lot of times. Ended up getting 9 kills for the team, so that's pretty good for Ksenia. Eventually went for Bobcat a little bit later on when it was safer to do so. Yuri going for a Time Warp build with a lot of mind damage behind it, but went for Flash Forward first. This was a good move because it allowed him to get out of a lot of tricky situations, coupled with his boots, he was nearly uncatchable. After that, went into Mines, HP, and then slow down on the bubble. Like the mind damage, double mind damage is just too good to pass up on. Definitely do that most of the time. Time Primer gonna just do a lot of work as well. Baby Yeti, I'm not sure how much it did, to be honest with you. And then Baby Curry Mammoth, I'm kind of tossing that as a throwaway in this game. At that point, they were winning. Coco going for left click superconductor out of the gate, because that push is super helpful to have. Silver coating to increase your move speed, to get away, to move around the map very quickly as well. Voltage amplifier to increase the burst. Heavenly Fire to make sure that your upgrades that you get on Blaze end up being doubly effective. It doesn't synergize super well with silver coating, mind you, but it did end up working out for them anyway. Conducting gel going to increase the range on the ball and the speed of it, making it harder to dodge. After that, started going to Chuck's board and some other stuff, but at that point the game was kind of over, and they were already pushing forward with quite a lot of power. So the build stopped mattering and didn't need to go all ranks into Chuck's board. But to be honest, one rank of Chuck's board is quite a decent amount of damage. So yeah, maybe that was enough. Thank you everybody so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this replay and analysis brought to you by yours truly. If you'd like to have your replay cast and looked at by myself, you can go ahead and send it to my email. It's slowwolfgame@gmail.com. That's slowwolf@gmail.com. It's slowwolfgame@gmail.com. I will look at the game and we'll cast it and we'll have a good time. You get your game cast, I get some content for my channel. Everyone gets some Awesomenauts and everyone has a fun time. So it's totally worth it if you have a replay that you think is worth watching. One last time, thank you everybody so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed yourselves. I know I sure did. And I'll see you guys in the next replay.